welcome back guys. What's up? We're en route again. Welcome back to this channel. It's been a while guys. I haven't posted in a while. But today I'm on my way to another site visit. It's a short road trip. I'm actually going for a site inspection in Hamilton. Hamilton is about an hour and a half away from Auckland. And there's a very important topic I want to discuss today. So welcome to the show. It's going to be an exciting road trip. It's a good morning out here in Aotearoa. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you'll be watching this from. Let me know where you're watching this from. I want to discuss an important topic today that has been doing rounds on social media, in one of the largest groups on social media. And the topic today, look how beautiful this route is, guys. This is State Highway 1, the Thermal Explorer Highway, Auckland to Hamilton. Always enjoy driving on this route. Whoa, there is a copper there. I definitely must have got a ticket. I didn't see that policeman. Always know, they always hide over there, man. They always hide it right tucked in behind there. You can't see them. Hamilton, 72 kilometers to go. I love these drives, guys, so come along with me. Let's see what happens, alright? Did you see that policeman there? Did ya? And hopefully I don't get caught. Well, I think I was doing just about the right speed. I don't see him in my rear view mirror, which means I'm all good. Gee, that was scary. Woo! Close shave. And when you drive along these highways, you gotta be careful, man. Cops are all over the place trying to catch anyone over speeding. Yeah, come along as we listen to the sounds of Kanda Bongoman in this video on our way to Hamilton City. We're just about to close down for Christmas, guys, so I may not post videos until after Christmas or New Year's, but I'm gonna be posting a couple of more videos before we close down for Christmas. It's been a year, it's been an interesting year. I'll probably do a video when I come back about how the year has been. So comment down below what your year has been. Subscribe, share, and like. Sounds of Kanda Bongo Man. Kilometers to Hamilton. Hey. 'Ry discussion for today. So today I want to talk about a subject that has been going on the Kenyan Architect Spinner board. And the question that is being discussed is, should architecture technicians in Kenya be licensed to practice? That is the ongoing question on the Kenyan Architect Spinner board. It's a Facebook page started by some practicing architects in Kenya, just to bring together architects practicing in Kenya and anyone else interested in the built environment for discussions. So the page has like over 16,000 members, so that's a good membership right there, a good crowd there. And so at the moment somebody posted, or somebody, I won't mention their names, they've been discussing this question: should architectural technicians be licensed to practice in Kenya? Well, I wanted to add my view on there, or rather just the view from New Zealand, and share my views about how the practice is done here in New Zealand, just for the purposes of enriching the conversation, really. But I do believe that the building industry, such as it is, especially in Kenya, I mean, Kenya has a population of over 55 million people. So the construction industry in Kenya is so big that I believe there is enough room for everyone to practice at whatever level you are in the building industry. Technician, architect, draftsman, architecture graduate, contractor, engineer, whatever profession you are in the building industry. I believe the building industry in Kenya is so big, so massive, that there is enough space for everyone to find a space and a place to practice without antagonizing any other person. With that said, I want to share my perspective on how the practice is done here in New Zealand, and how that very same question, should architecture technicians be allowed to practice in Kenya, and practice as what? So, just a bit of background in terms of the architecture education in New Zealand. So, the architecture degree in New Zealand in recent years, it has been changed. So it's a two-part degree, if you like, which is sort of the practice and the common practice around the world. So you start, when you register to study architecture, you start with a 3-year course, Bachelor of Architecture Studies. So your undergrad will be Bachelor of Architecture Studies. And that degree is 3 years of architecture theory and design and some technical, it's got a bit of technical aspect to it. But the BAS doesn't qualify you to be registered as an architect in New Zealand. So if you want to qualify for registration as an architect, then you have to go ahead and do another 2 years at master's level. So you have to undertake a Master of Architecture, the professional option, right? So you do a Master of Architecture professional, and once we graduate with that Master of Architecture, that is 2 years, then you are able now, you take the graduate pathway to registration, which means you find an internship, you go and start practicing as a graduate architect or an architecture graduate under a licensed architect or under a licensed architectural firm, and then you log in your hours and record of work and portfolio, etc., for about 3 years or 2 to 3 years. And then after that, then you book an exam, the architecture professional exam. So in a nutshell, the education and registration pathway for an architect in New Zealand is similar to most Commonwealth countries. You know, we're talking about Canada, Australia, UK, Kenya, and all the other Commonwealth countries in Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, which one else? The islands, the Caribbean islands, etc., etc. So it's almost similar. You have a regulating body. In terms of the regulating body, you have in New Zealand, you have the New Zealand Registered Architects Board, the NZRB, New Zealand Registered Architects Board, which is a legal body mandated to train and examine and register architects in New Zealand. So that, and also the term architect in New Zealand is protected by law. So you can't call yourself an architect in New Zealand unless you're registered by the NZRB. That is very clear. And that is similar to practice again. It's common practice again across Commonwealth countries. In Canada, it's the same. In Kenya, you cannot call yourself an architect unless you're registered by the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, BORAX, in Kenya. So even if you are a registered architect from another country and you come to New Zealand, you cannot call yourself an architect in New Zealand without putting the tag registered architect in Kenya, or registered architect in South Africa, or registered architect in UK, registered architect in Canada, or registered architect in Singapore, or registered architect in Hong Kong. So unless you're registered as an architect in New Zealand, you cannot use the term architect. If you're registered as an architect in a different jurisdiction, you gotta specify that in front of your tags. That's why, for me, if you look at my title, I'm a registered architect in Kenya, and also a licensed building practitioner in New Zealand. And I'll come to that. I'll explain what all that means. And also that's the purpose of this video, to explain the LBP scheme and how it works in New Zealand. So that is how the profession, the architectural profession, is regulated in New Zealand. Now, in 2007, after the passage of the New Building Act of 2004 in New Zealand, the government came up with a scheme called the Licensed Building Practitioners. And the purpose of this scheme was to make sure that houses in New Zealand are built right the first time. So prior to all this that I'm talking about, New Zealand had an issue with what we call the leaky building syndrome. And the leaky building syndrome was a national disaster whereby a lot of homes built prior to the amendment of the Building Act 2004. Before that was the Building Act 1991. Prior to the Building Act 2004, a lot of buildings that were built then, either due to poor workmanship or supervision or poor selection of materials, etc., and not enough quality assurance, a lot of buildings that were built prior to the enactment of the new law developed leaky problems. So there was leaky problems either through the cladding or through the roof or through different joints in terms of flashings, etc., And this sort of disaster cost councils and property owners, individual property owners, a lot of money. And so what happened after that? So it was a nationwide disaster in terms of the built environment and housing in New Zealand. So what happened after that is that the government then decided to enact new legislation that will make sure that there is enough checks and balances across the built environment in terms of design and construction through the whole chain of production of houses and buildings in New Zealand. So whether you're a designer or construction, the new act, Building Act 2004, put in enough checks, or came up with enough checks and balances to make sure that the first time a building is constructed, a house is constructed, it is constructed right and there is no issues with it. And so one of those checks and balances was the LBP scheme, the Licensed Building Practitioner scheme. So this scheme in a nutshell ensures that the important professions, the different important professions that are associated with a house, with building a house or a building, are qualified and are on top of things. So it's a licensing scheme across 7 sectors of the built environment, and those 7 are bricklaying, plastering, carpentry, painting, roofing, design, and one other. And the last category, I think, includes all of the above. So what it means is that if you are a bricklayer, if you are a mason, if you are a painter, if you are a carpenter, etc., you cannot undertake what is called restricted building work without being licensed. You know, if you are a designer, you cannot undertake what is called restricted building work without being licensed. And restricted building work is comprised of the following 3 categories. It touches on structure, so making sure that the structure of the building as it is sound and robust. And it also touches on weather tightness or cladding, so making sure that the cladding material used to cover the building is at the right quality, they are durable, they are weather tight, etc., And I think the last one is I don't remember the last category. There are 3 things that the restricted building work revolves around. I think the last one. So we've got a structure, we've got weather tightness, and fire. Yes, fire. How can I forget? Damn, man, I'm supposed to be good at these things. Anyway, so restricted building work is defined as work that involves the structure of a building, that touches on the structure of any building or house, work that touches on cladding or weather tightness of a building or a house, and any work that involves or touches on issues related to fire access, issues related to fire safety and prevention. And I think the other category is access. Access not much, because access is, universal design. So, in order to do restricted building work, then you must be a licensed building practitioner in whatever category, whatever category that you are licensed in. So, if we say we are designing a house from scratch, in order for me to design that house, I must be licensed in a certain design category. And now I'm going to start talking about the licensing categories, because like I said before, there is the bricklaying category, there is carpentry, there is masonry, there is painting, there is roofing, there is drain layer, there is electrical, and then there is the design class. Now the focus of my discussion today is actually to discuss in detail what the design class involves, because I think this is the one that is relevant to architecture technicians in Kenya, and it may just enrich that discussion that they are agitating to be recognized as licensed practitioners and find their space in the design and build environment industry. So within the design class, there are 3 design licenses that you qualify for. These design licenses depend on the category of buildings that you can, or you're capable, or you have demonstrated capability and competence to design. And there are 3 building categories. So, design licenses, there are 3 design licenses: design license 1, design license 2, and design license 3. So when you qualify as an LBP in design, you will see a designation written as LBP-D1, LBP-D2, or LBP-D3. So LBP Design 1, LBP Design 2, or LBP Design 3. 35 kilometers to Hamilton, guys. Are you enjoying the view? So, LBP, I'll start with LBP Design 1. If you are an LBP Design 1, you are only allowed to design. It means you've demonstrated competence in designing buildings considered Category 1 buildings. Now, what are Category 1 buildings? Category 1 buildings are those buildings whose risk matrix envelope is less than 12. Okay, so if a building, Category 1 buildings are actually being considered as single home dwelling with a risk matrix of less than 12. Okay, and I will come and talk about what is a risk matrix towards the end of this video. For now, just bear with me that Category 1 building are buildings that are considered single home, single story, mostly single story, and whose risk matrix is less than 12. And I say I'll explain what a risk matrix is to my Kenyan audience. But a risk matrix is just a way of how New Zealand classifies the complexity of the structure of any building in terms of the cladding envelope. Okay, so briefly that's it. Now, if you are design license 1, if you are LBP D1 or design 1, you only design Category 1 building, which are described as or defined as single home building whose risk matrix is less than 12. Let's look at design, LBP Design 2. If you are registered as LBP Design 2, you are only allowed to design buildings, number 1, whose risk matrix is more than 12. They are also considered single home. However, there could be single home and up to about under 10 meters in height. So LBP2, you design buildings that are whose risk matrix can be more than 12, but the height of those buildings cannot be more than 10 meters. So what are these types of buildings? So we are looking at maybe a 4-story apartment building. You can design that. A 2-story home. You can design that. A double-story maisonette, 3-story maisonette, etc., etc. Townhouses, 3-level townhouses, 2-level townhouses.